Introduction. Let's work and live together, human servant and elf. No excessive imagination, containing certain scientific principles, such as the platypus. Chapter 1. Forgot the gender of Ren Xiao 2. You are listening at novel full.audio. I forgot about the gender of the second person and order takeout. If the weather changes during the day with white clothes are not significant, then the second person needs to replenish their energy. Let's see who feels like they are the second person when they have time. People speak, but there is no first or second place in writing. The first one is clever, the second one is foolish. If anyone is there. If someone says something, I'll tell you that you're very second. Is it good enough to say you are a fool or first of all, you? You are a clumsy person. What about here? In this environment, people call him little too. The author can't bear it. So I remember sweetly changing his name to human servant after eating. Brothers and sisters, people are not stupid. Ren Xiao's loyalty is over 2 o'clock. What should I do if I go? Has the person gone yet? Walking or running? Always walk on the road. When the road is green and tense, it is a green avenue. When tense, a bright path, a book of events in life. The assistant of Lenovo thinks in his heart that he is not nervous, not nervous. When he is in a good mood, the sun shines and the breeze walks slowly. When he is nervous, the rain is continuous. These 4 words are used to deceive people. The breeze is gentle, but it doesn't rain. The waiter looked at the sky and had a thought, knowing that he was lying to himself. Although it doesn't rain, it only produces thoughts, and the rain continues. At this moment, with a smile on his face, at a distance of 10 meters from the southeast, northwest, and north, there were 2 men and 2 women who were somewhat miserable. First of all, the girl on the west side was wearing a skirt with a waist posture, a stylish posture, and a particularly beautiful top. She was wearing a red skirt and a pink top, playing with her phone. Suddenly, the wind blew and she fell and slid far away. Never thought, the wind is not small. At this moment, the boy from the north was wearing short sleeves, a vest, and jeans, but he was also carefree and relaxed, talking and laughing. However, the weather was unpredictable. At this moment, above his head, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Suddenly, a thunderstorm fell from the sky for a while, all wet. I had no choice but to run, no choice but to hide, so I stood in the rain and suddenly froze. The reaction time was very rushed, there was not enough time. At this moment, the boy on the east side had a contented expression on his face. When he saw these 2 visible to the naked eye, he let out a ha-ha laugh, but was unaware of the danger. Above his head, the scorching sun was shining, and the temperature had risen several degrees. In an instant it was 20.4 or 5 degrees, and the temperature had reached 30 degrees. At this moment, he could easily sweat like rain. At the same time, my pants and underwear got wet, which was very embarrassing. At this moment, the girl in the south is different from the previous one. She is wearing slim black pants, with a slim and waist-tied beautiful woman inside. An incredible thing happened next to him, but the rolling sand and dust had a sandstorm, blocking the sky and blowing on his body around him, making his face gray. It's not an exaggeration to say Cinderella. Her clothes have also turned gray, a proper layer of gray. Dust entered her mouth and nose, and she managed to spit it out to clean her nasal cavity, which may have been clever, but she didn't. She's beautiful, beautiful. Run with your hands covering your face. The waiter forgot his gender and ran with his face covered, taking a few steps to stop. It was also a gentle breeze, and his face was full of spring light. This was his final gesture. Previously, when the phone was standing upright, he also looked at it. His thumb was attached to the left border of the phone, his little finger was attached to the lower half of the right border of the phone, and the bottom left of the phone was against the palm of the hand, while his index finger was against the back of the phone. The middle finger and ring finger are suspended without supporting the phone. He learns from others, is carefree and free, talks and laughs, and also learns from others. As he walks, he looks up, lowers his head, looks ahead, and walks with graceful steps, which is very handsome. It was also learned from others. The waiter sat on a smooth stone stool, which was not simple. There was dust on it, but a gentle breeze came in, which increased the force of the wind. The dust on the smooth stone stool was completely gone, and the surrounding dust was also blown clean. He wiped it with a tissue and saw that it was a white tissue. Take the opportunity to sit down. He crossed his legs and picked up his phone to record his beautiful and wonderful singing voice. Our great China, what a big home. Chapter 2. Moving forward in the wind and rain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Our great China, such a big home, has passed through so many times. The wind and rain have hit our great China, such a big home, always that and always that. I will accompany him, China blesses you, and you will always be in my heart. The lyrics are good, but people are not. People move forward in the wind and rain, and in fact, everyone says they are moving forward in the wind and rain. In fact, they are not in the wind and rain, still moving forward. The wind and rain are in their minds, and their thoughts are sometimes active, sometimes sad, sometimes hesitant, and sometimes romantic. It reflects the unpredictability of the weather and the unpredictable state of the brain, with unpredictable changes, inexplicable astonishment, and unpredictability. Anyway, the advanced expression of patriotism and love for home cannot be reflected in a song. Leaving this aside, the human waiter is moving forward, running on both sides of the leaves, rolling and jumping, and the dust rolling on both sides is not enough. Even in a big storm, the dust storm seems to be in the opposite direction. Run and jump, take off, and walk with flying sand and stones. They don't harm their body, they don't wear their clothes, they still shine brightly. The scorching sun does not harm him, nor does wind and rain harm him, it is only his own injury. The brain of size cannot help but generate thoughts and understanding. The size of the brain is well developed and mature enough, and using it can harm oneself. Strange hearts occupy the memory of the brain, and the memory is as follows. It feels strange to be careful, do they think? Put a question mark. Occupying memory, or brain memory, so the flood and roar, roar and roar. The opinions are diverse and colorful. What's wrong with her? What does she mean? Compared to me. Adults or children, women or girls, no, people should be men, they are not good enough. What does it look like? What's going on? What's going on? What else is there? Good enough. What's going on? The girl took her phone, okay. Explosive hand movements, women. No, it's just that guys look like girls, isn't it? Is a woman full of femininity? No, it's not quite feminine. For a moment and a half, there will be a loud sound and image signal, so that other content is not the same as oneself. The brain is definitely not capable, it's not like one's own brain. Really not. Where? In terms of aspect, it is one's own brain. In a hazy state, there is also a bit of talent, and the human servant is always clever and always looks like this. Always talking about vague things. This is causing the eyes to squint and produce hallucinations through the pupils. Look at the stones on the ground shining, the black light is in line with common sense. Even the brightest white light reflects the light of black paint. Stones are originally black. But it feels round and small. A small whirlwind blew up on the ground, and more than 10 small stones were shaped like funnels by the whirlwind. They spun and flew up, and after a while, the funnels disappeared. The stones fell to the ground, and a gentle breeze blew, sometimes blowing again. The rolling stones first came from the left wind, then from the right wind, in sequence, rolling on both sides of the road clean and smooth. I haven't crossed my legs for a long time. Putting it down and walking is the way to go. The door is right in front of me. People believe that there is a door at the end of the road. But the second person doesn't think so. Squint your eyes and open them, the road is still long, the path of life. The road ahead. I can't distinguish clearly. A little girl. Coming with the wind, the stone finally gave way and was followed by someone. They rolled behind them in unison, thinking that the smart stone wanted to see a play. The girl opened her eyes wide, bowed, and then smiled and said, "Brother, how handsome you are." The innocent and innocent appearance makes people feel that the pain has disappeared, and they feel that the beloved girl is happy. The second person then developed thoughts. He is indeed very handsome and thoughtful. I hope she can grow, be more beautiful and moving, and be moved by people's emotions. The author believes that being born in a foreign land is nothing more than that. At this moment, the little girl disappeared and walked in the opposite direction, while the small stones were swayed by a gentle breeze. First, there was a gentle breeze on the left, and then a gentle breeze on the right. The small stones rolled on the ground to make way for the little girl, giving way to a bright path. Contacting the person, the waiter looked into the distance, the ground was clean and smooth, and the road was bright, so his mood was relaxed. But behind the scenes of the human mistress, the sun shines brightly on the earth. The earth reflects light and is incredibly bright. The sunlight shone on her body, shining brightly in the direction of the little girl's progress, creating a bright and dazzling scene. Is there any elf causing trouble in Greater China? Chapter 3 Except for night, daytime. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Apart from thinking all the way through the day in the dark, thinking also stops when there is something, it's just sleeping. At this point, the waiter can't do it. Fortunately, there isn't one. At night, conducting on-site inspections is not a big deal, but I always feel that there are some shortcomings, and everyone has them. However, every time there is a deficiency, it exists. Fairies do exist. Is there any fairy in Greater China? That's right to ask. The road ahead is dark because it is already evening. Speaking Mandarin, also known as Chinese, is in Pudong, but people are light and floating. Therefore, it can make people feel that the weather in Pudong new area is good, but people's hearts are not good. He will encounter it as soon as he gets home. Emotions are gone, but friends come. His friend came to find him and had something to do because his friend asked him to bring a box of mooncakes. He was on vacation for the year, but he didn't receive the mooncakes. Let him lead him to retrieve them together. Anger diluted the experiences of the day. I almost forgot to bring my friends mooncakes, and only enjoyed the unpredictable experiences of a series of weather changes, as well as the cool and cheerful movements and joyful steps that I became addicted to. The compulsory courses in Yencheng seem to be kept every day, which is particularly fun and interesting. This is a luxurious fantasy journey. Who would have thought that Ren Xiaoer was taking compulsory courses in Yencheng, which means he had studied life. Nowadays, he is a manager and his real name is Ma Rulong. 10,000 horses are galloping like living dragons and tigers. Perhaps flying dragons in the sky also have this meaning. The whole, 2 characters, are appropriate because he has excessive mental activity, so he needs to squint when others are in high spirits in order to regain his energy. His handsome appearance, speech, and behavior are unrecognizable by ordinary people, so he is called a fool. What are the 10,000 possible scenarios for a complete victory, waiter? A small person cannot be honest, only honest. Ren Xiaoer is not someone of his uncle's, and there has been no way to deal with him for a long time. No big or small, that's okay. Ask his uncle to fetch water for him when he comes up, and who else should he bring to pour water? No one. Who will come at the expiration date? It's called a slip. If you fetch water, it won't slip. If you pour water, it will slip. My uncle made him behave badly. He reacted too slowly, so he had to pour water. I was scolded by her for eating lotus root. Listen, call me a little girl. What's the relationship? Who? There's already a second person in line. The brain is sparkling and shining like day, which is an illusion. The brain is level like day, but there are still a few dark spots. The author also knows that being a minor is like a little bit of darkness during the day. This is called mental and external appearance. The body becomes stubborn and the face is radiant. Dispel the dust and rain at this moment, smooth out the dust and return to the city. The dark night makes the brain cool and bright, incredibly comfortable. People only know about dozens of stones giving way, which clearly does not conform to the bizarre situation, and that is the elf time elf event. When people encounter time, they always like to have someone to help them, and when time encounters difficulties. Help, it comes from your disgusting heart, whether you feel nauseous or not. Legalism has laws, but does not believe in them. The dharma of legalism is as follows. Nausea doesn't cause much harm. Outside rain showers window, the sun shines brightly on the earth. Outside his window, it was bright, while the rest of the room was dark. The night was terrifying, with no trace of light, as he was about to fall asleep at night, secretly sleeping. The frightened child suddenly felt speechless and surprised. He was so surprised that he stuttered and dared not speak out, and even dared not tell anyone. Outside his window, yes, there were white candles shining brightly. Is the moon so powerful? Or is it an illusion in his brain? He's also confused about something, I don't know. The bright light of a white candle is naturally a different world from the bright light of day. Like the intersection between humans and the elves, is this coming from his brain illusion or something? He was unable to distinguish between reality and illusion, unable to analyze whether it was true or false, unable to raise his hand and tap his forehead, calm his mind, and continue to open his eyes. His eyes were wide, staring out the window at the world outside. People often think that they only have to analyze the world themselves, and the same goes for a waiter who needs to recognize the world, recognize its gradual and present situation, which is true and which is false, what is true and what is illusory, what is true and what is false. Chapter 4. Window Channels. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The quality of the window light is like that of daytime units, but the human waiter is still not moved. No matter how surprised he is, it is not spicy or delicious, and his new heart is low. He only wants to eat, and his small heart is not ordinary and thumping. However, the bright light in front of him believes that he has not eaten, and he is indecisive when faced with things. It seems that he is constantly worried, but he doesn't know why. Small heart, low new heart, what's wrong? At ordinary times, sisters and brothers always add the same attitude to everything. Even if they pretend to be strong, their hearts will be thumping. They should also pretend to be strong, and they will also pull their hands to get ugly. A low-grade heart is not suitable for grabbing red envelopes. Just tie a fierce character. The soil has fallen off, and the new type of heart is like soil and debris. Oh. After the meaning of this book. The heart is divided into two types. A low new type of heart, a high-tech type of heart. Have you had any questions? Yes, there is no chance to explain. The window passage road is far and wide, it's outrageous, but everyone is going. Pretending to be ignorant of worldly affairs, the road ahead passed, but fortunately there was a gust of wind that caused a shiver. The effort paid off to those who had a heart. Have you let it go now, shiver? I didn't feel it. With a swoosh, there was almost a black shadow, but there was no soft or hard mentality. A good person, a little clever and mischievous. But the bright spring light in front of me is no less than who? Being able to take on a new calling of duty, exploring and discovering a world, and offering blessings to different worlds. See who can press their legs better than their legs. Be eager to try. Ren Xiaoer was very supportive. The second person's mentality is poor. They probably saw a shock absorber electric motorcycle nearby to provide unified rescue, so they should have woken up and changed their cycling style long ago. Is the low new heart like this? The heart and soul of the waiter have gone out of his body, the candlelight is as bright as day, and the entire road is pitch black, still at night. Lifting the shock absorber, the electric two-wheeled rider couldn't bear it, and the guidance light was bright, measuring the brightness along the way. It is normal for such a formal receptionist to have a poor mentality. The low-grade heart doesn't stop quickly, is it? I just saw it, right? He had a sudden burst of spring light on his face and came riding the wind. First, he let in the wind through his pants, causing them to swell, and then he let in the wind through his shirt. Whether it's a top or pants. I just feel that the surroundings are magnificent buildings with a Chinese style, and the little girl under the street lamp will also take a palm print. One palm has 2 flowers, and the other hand has 1 palm flower. The palm print is strong enough, with the left hand imprinting the right hand. Printing fingerprints, the detective is lost and helpless. What should we do for a while? It's stuck. There is no other intention here, it's just a joke. There is no intention of underestimating the detective. The electric bike with car shock absorbers is quite comfortable, but at the same time, his body swells and puffs up like an inflatable chubby doll, which is particularly comical. Perhaps people will think, what is this, chubby, greasy, creamy little guy or something, not like a person. The road moves forward and continues, but no one knows his thoughts, no one knows, that's for sure, because in the dead of night, he feels like he's sleepwalking, isn't he actually asleep? It's not the path he entered through the window, but this path is between the elves and the human world, or it can be said to be between immortals and mortals. He walked all the way, thinking that I was going to be developed, but felt that things were not so simple, as if they were developed again, and there was absolutely no danger so far. It was just that there were some small whirlwinds carrying stones flying and spinning in a funnel shape. Under the harassment of a simple electric vehicle, the small whirlwind disappeared, the stones slid off, scattered on the ground, and opened up a road for him on both sides. A gentle breeze comes slowly, starting with a whirlwind on the left and a gentle breeze on the right. When the wind is small, it blows first from left to right, then from left to right, and then from right to right. Repeat this process, and that's it. Ren Xiaoer felt very lucky for himself. The small stones were like black dots on the railway tracks, arranged in rows and rows in pitch black, like 2 parallel lines. The road in the middle guided him forward and marked his way back. At the moment of joy, the wind rose again and I noticed a whirlwind on the road behind me from the rearview mirror of the shock absorbing electric car. It rose again, and stones flew up again. One whirlwind after another stretched for several kilometers behind me, forming a black tail, the tail of the whirlwind. Chapter 5. The Arrival of Day. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How long have you been away? I don't know. Is it raining under the clouds like a sea of sky? I don't know. At the end of the road. I don't know. Have you become foolish? I don't know. The road has no end, the heart has an end. This alone is not foolish. The truth of being a human servant comes in, angry resources are tears and a bitter smile. Such a good day. Hallelujah appeared in his own words, and his eyebrows and eyes lit up with a stunning expression. Appearance and eyebrow. Blinking your eyes is a science, and this way, blinking will shatter rumors about sealed eyes squinting. Pointing to self-rescue proves that there is nothing in it. There is a substantial alienation in the right-hand space, which has been changed to a paragraph. A paragraph. Swipe your right hand from left to right, your eyes are as big as glass balls. No one dares to say this paragraph. Heterogeneous behavior. At this moment, he is imagining this action while riding a bike. The secret of big eyes. Although the bike is clean all around, it is also clean. But still under pressure, I accidentally stumbled into sand in my eyes, but in reality, I entered a different world. We are such people. The smoke is too big, it's inevitable that it's magical. How did the sand that was made without authorization turn into smoke? The big eyes presented a smoky appearance. Visible to the eyes. What's going on? What's going on? Sand is real sand. How did it change? Bullying people. I want to set up a platform to speak, day is coming. It's also daytime, but the waiter still feels that it's not suitable to travel at night. But without this layer, his thoughts would be even more wild. Wolves have a bit of madness in their bloodline, just like human servants. He wanted to eat but didn't, pitifully. But when the Chinese public eats mooncakes, he moves forward silently. And it's still a rainy night alone. Eating mooncakes, the sun and moon are shining brightly, and other places are pitch black. Traveling around the surrounding communities is also a great option. But does his window still shine like daylight? The window far away from the passage cut its bones in confusion. The bone being cut is a pain. Although it has been dislocated before. A human servant is a wild wolf, unable to control his temperament. He has a low great heart. It's the low new heart caused by smoke. The small sand turned into smoke, sweating uncontrollably and trembling uncontrollably. Acting exaggerates its reasons. Do we not know that this new type of heart may actually slow down its heart rate in the face of difficulties and hardships? So, sweat and tremble. The day has not yet arrived, but the wheels are spinning. The wheels of the car are still fighting against the little whirlwind. The wheels rolled over and calmed down. There are still many small whirlwinds ahead, but the human servant always sees magnificent scenes of the beautiful rivers and mountains of Greater China on both sides of the small whirlwind. As they move forward, there are towering and magnificent mountains and rivers. I can't help feeling lost, but the little whirlwind guides the little bits of loss and confusion that are about to leave. On the left is the sound, "Thank you, sister." This is a single-room dinner place, and the beautiful and graceful sister will give me a beef bun. What are the 8 brothers on the right doing? One person begs to marry. Unscrupulous person waiter, really. Not serious. The little girl frowning on the field is dressed beautifully. It's not serious. At this moment, it is still. What did you do with your eyes moving forward? Sand enters the left eye. Only once, this time it was the right eye, which turned into smoke again. The white smoke is about to dissipate, but life continues. This version of the story is still repeated before the day arrives. As soon as my eyes opened, it was like this all along. Then give it a try, the story of fools and eyes. A small grain of sand became the protagonist. Since what can enter the eyes? Why isn't a small whirlwind blowing up small stones? It's all small things from afar. Why not rush to hit the body of the waiter? The waiter was impatient and uneasy about this point. But it's still a low new type of heart. The second person wanted to roll up his sleeves and hammer his chest, but whenever he saw the second person, his hands were tied to the armrest. You can see a glimpse of the class. If that person's thoughts are flooding into a disaster. The pros and cons are hard to part with. The small sand no longer appeared in my eyes. People who smile bitterly don't need to smile anymore. The smoke has arrived, isn't it sunny? A proper aversion. At that time, the sunlight passed through the smoke, and the waiter couldn't resist it. The smoke formed small clouds, and at this moment, the sunlight looks for the clouds again. The glow of the clouds is in front and behind the head and around. Not at all in sight. Firstly, there is no restriction. The warm auspicious clouds were around, making me feel warm and sunny all over. The clothes are still so comical, whether the pants or the top are still bulging, a person is like a chubby doll. Which one is cute? Ignoring the round face and big eyes, not caring. A good image with a fair complexion like pearl powder. Wearing tight elastic black pants and a blue subtracted top, with a pre-lightened collar and a blue maple leaf floral texture. Chapter 6. Drill bits in the air. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Sir, by calling it a small drill bit, a boy can recognize that it is the center point of the whirlpool formed by the drill bit, and that is the main center point of the drill bit, isn't it? Can whirlwind be used as a drill for human servants? It's just a gust of wind howling past, how can it have intelligence to recognize people and objects? Unfortunately, that's strange and that's strange. Strange, the two-word count permeates the space. If not, it is God praying to God, who is flying up extraordinary gods, not elves. Therefore, there will be no strange phenomena, only God's image can appear. Not to mention the image of God. What kind of scenery is that? Divine scenery. What does an electric vehicle rely on to move forward now that it runs out of electricity? That is to say, as you walk, the electric car slowly turns the switch, slowly and slowly. The speed rate suddenly decreased, but the decrease was not significant. It slowly and slowly decreased. The amplitude of the electricity used for work gradually reduced the energy, resulting in low electricity and loss of kinetic energy. If a car cannot come, it will stop moving forward. If a human child asks a waiter for something, they are particularly worried that the car will unload vegetables and the car will get stuck. What should they do? The straight problem must be solved, and it must be solved at a slow speed, even if the car is willing to stop at a slow speed. Everyone's thoughts are myriad, and as a person with a low and new heart, a human servant. They are all incompetent. Changing people is also in vain. The small whirlwind in front of the car flew over the front of the car, walked straight towards the face, and then surrounded the head as the earth. It was the moon that turned once, again, and again, continuing to fly in front of us. However, its small size was transparent, and it could clearly see the lightning inside, the intersecting lightning, and the intersecting corresponding response. Whirling and swirling on one side, forming a funnel-shaped shape, with wind and small stones in front of me. Weak in the wind, lightning is powerful, and I can see sparkling sparks. I don't recognize goods. Anyone who is swaying something in front of them always has an unpleasant expression, so they unfold their thoughts. Their idea is that I love you, leave a little bit, he didn't make a sound, but the little whirlwind whipped him and stood behind him, feeling something was wrong. Through the rearview mirror, they saw an interesting scene. Really hula hula hula. The rotation increased the force of the turning head, and the force at the center point was so strong that it directly turned and drilled open the plug of the electric vehicle battery. The plug fell off, revealing the charging plug. The drill bit with a small head like an electric drill is placed at the top of the plug, following closely behind it, making a thumping sound. The sound of the drum and the wind blowing through the leaves makes an enviable cry. There is also a small lightning bolt, with a clicking sound that is pleasing to the eye and captivating to the heart. Recognition is about whether the power of lightning is enormous or not. Electric vehicles are about to collapse, but they are still moving forward, albeit at a much slower speed than walking. This way, the turtle crawling SM is like a turtle crawling, requiring you to support the ground with your feet to succeed. It's almost time, it's time to support the ground with your feet. The child decided to grit their teeth, but not chew on tangerine peel. Identifying and guessing, fantasies rush into the brain, but seeking the rearview mirror, seeking to take a look on the left, the right and left are shrouded in clouds, rainbow clouds warm sunshine, but in front of the whirlwind, there are dense dark clouds. Especially in the sky, while on both sides there are continuous mountains and tall buildings praying for blessings. The painter's paintings are still incredibly beautiful and pleasing to the eye, but the dark clouds ahead are overwhelming, listening to the thunderous sound, while the small lightning behind echoes in unison, like a symphony with the thunderous sound of his predecessor. The large lightning forms a sharp contrast. Pitiful mountain peaks and high-rise buildings, famous mountains and rivers, everything is there, just like what the painter painted. It has a strong sense of three-dimensionality, with birds, trees, flowers, plants, butterflies dancing, birds, rare creatures, and countless birds. Looking for the book Garden www.jiaozuiyuan.com, swans fly into the empty pool, and fish sing happily. The sea, whether deep or shallow, or lakes, at the intersection with the sea, all love and graceful dance are established, and the body feeling is a beautiful picture on both sides, but it does not affect his path and vision of progress, nor does it affect comfort, especially comfortable. The power switch on the right hand is indeed the same, but the electric car is still a human servant. Everyone forgot that his speed is limited, that is, the top speed, which is not too fast. However, at this moment, it was a bit strange that the battery was actually full. As I watched the dashboard display, the battery was gradually increasing, and the speed was really fast. In theory, the amount of electricity in a fixed-speed electric car, the speed caused by electricity, and the speed of the electric car must be manually controlled by human intervention. If the speed of the electric car wants to change, what will happen next? Only then can we increase speed. One is to do it manually. Is it true that there are some, too, in the human mistress? However, knowing that electric vehicles have increased their top speed compared to before, Ren Chang instinctively thought, does it require electricity? Then, by turning the drill bit and drilling, a connecting line is drilled open. As long as that connecting line is not connected, the speed of the electric car will increase, right? The sound of a small whirlwind and lightning suddenly disappeared without a sound. 10 small stones all fell to the ground, scattering towards both sides. I discovered a problem earlier, and learned that the rescue of the small whirlwind was carried out by Pioneer's small whirlwind's air outlet, dragging the electrical plug to the power source and plugging it into the power connector. Provide electricity. Looking at the beautiful scenery on both sides, then at the rearview mirror, feeling the residual light of the eyes, looking at the night ahead, the residual light outside the bright sky, and watching the entire process of the actions of the small whirlwind in the rearview mirror. Throughout the process, my eyes widened even wider. Keep moving forward. Chapter 7. Endless Night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How good would an endless night be, even with lightning and thunder shining brightly and the sun shining brightly, it would be black and gray. To call oneself an endless night. The role of a humble servant is to serve the people infinitely, as recorded in this model. Service is the mold. Serve the people. Come and imagine, but now I see a path of blooming flowers on this road, behind me. Lack of consideration in the body, no flowers blooming in front of me, on both sides of the road. The road ahead seems to have no way, and the way seems to have no way. Contrary to the road means there is no way. Even if there is no way, one must cross enough distance to enter home and see the sun. The road ahead is long and arduous. A great road does not make a small path does not create a path, creating a path is a great road. Independently resettled into a major road. Without a broad path, there is a broad path to simplicity in the heart. The belief that the second child's mind is dead and becomes a great way, a low and new type of heart, promotes the brain to achieve the great way of experience, presenting the image of the great way that most people use to think. The embodiment of a strong sense of familial affection, such a brain nerve, can only be achieved through the use of a new type of heart. Solving puzzles, top secret. A person's mind is at ease when they feel uneasy, and their appearance is at ease when they feel uneasy, just like acting cannot delay time. But I didn't feel anything, did I? There is only such a shameless person who sees and disrupts tactics. Are people with a low heart rate? Are there too many shameless things to do? A negative attitude is also very good. Not to mention this point, it's better to use the elements of the small single-element periodic table to attract attention and achieve success. Button onto the periodic table, unable to find it. How small whirlwinds form and what elements. Like always having a brother's mentality, good song. The responsibility of advancing soldiers is high, while the resentment of women is deep. In this way, going back and forth, we have become active in promoting women's health and happiness. I don't believe it, but in fact, without an explanation, I can't explain. A good personal servant's concern. Is the proliferation of low-grade new heart diseases bound to become a disaster? But what should I do if I just want to spend too much on the road? The human waiter felt that he was not a wild wolf, not afraid of a gray wolf, and originally did not want to become a wolf. At the end of the road, it is inevitable to encounter bandits and road bullies. Don't worry about this. Are you thinking of a clever trick to become a wolf? Dealing with car bandits and road bullies. Xiao Yu looked at the clever move. Thinking of the little thoughts of Buddhism and Taoism, I am not afraid of them. I am not afraid of them anymore, repeating them like a drizzling rain called heart rain. It produces a continuous stream of the same thoughts, pouring down like rain. How can this be a low heart type heart? Although it is a high heart type heart, he has the ability to recognize acting. As long as he releases his hand, it is the end. Did he not release his hand for recognition? Some people believe that while his heart rate decreases during acting, he is also a good material for acting. But the material is here, flesh and blood, ordinary language, Chinese, black eyes, yellow skin, a Chinese boy's recognition is unquestionable. The wind, rain, and lightning intertwined in the air, like an endless night, blocking the long and winding road. It was not built by humans, but like a ghost hitting a wall. The road began to jolt, with small whirlwinds up and down forming a 45-degree angle whirlwind. The bottom was still the bottom, and the mouth of the whirlwind tilted towards a transparent whirlwind. The whirlwind of lightning was able to see the true face of the whirlwind. The small stones inside were not round in size, but all round, without any other shapes of small stones. The reason was that they were overwhelmed by the whirlwinds, one by one, and the bumpy truth was really unbearable. The Lenovo assistant began to move forward, but the wind, rain, and lightning were really helpless. Moreover, the small whirlwind they believed in was rotating around their head like the moon, and the mouth, which was also the tip of the bottom, was wide and rotated back and forth. Continuous lightning strikes from the sky are blocked by a small whirlwind, which can quickly absorb the lightning from all directions and reflect the remaining lightning onto the surrounding dust. Dust is flying, accompanied by small whirlwinds around, quickly eliminating the dust and flying in all directions. The waiter was not blinded by the dust, and beside him were still colorful clouds, shrouded in smoke and clouds. This kind of body is still surrounded by a gentle breeze like before, and the whole clothes are swollen, especially comical and enticing, just like wearing a cotton jacket. However, this cotton jacket responds with struggle, and there is no raindrop on his body. His clothes were not wet, but rather extremely dry and refreshing. Despite the strong winds and lightning around him, his face remained unchanged. As a passerby, the child still had a low heart type heart. His heart was beating, and there was no startled arrhythmia, or anything at all. This thing happened. Children are like children, their oranges have turned back into children's oranges, making the clothes around you bulge comically and comically. I want to eat oranges but can't eat them, what a child. At this moment, the orange is at home and has changed. Chapter 8. Little Whirlwind for Love. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The second person doesn't want to move forward, but on the surface, they continue to move forward. There is no thought of moving forward, and their thoughts are still countless. As long as the human brain is clear or confused, it will produce thoughts, which are called thought progression. The space for advancement is still vast, and the recognition of the vast space can be recognized. However, people, especially in harsh and rainy weather, are not clear in their minds. Little whirlwind, isn't the wind for love? In the gourd of a human servant. The gourd is filled with water, and the water naturally fills up. Is there not enough water in the gourd of the waiter? Low new type heart can be understood with the word miserable, and it's over. Love is necessary, absorb the small whirlwind and join the ranks of love. A servant doesn't have the ability, but a common person who gives wine can become a friend who is criticized for being a wine lover. Little whirlwind is not human. There is a blizzard ahead, a scene of a snowy country. The snow is still small, so there is no big snow. I believe in the pattern, from small to large. So, as a country, the snow and wind will inevitably make the servants move forward. No. Like a road stretching for several kilometers in a snowy country, it is no longer visible. The small whirlwind tilted at a 45-degree angle in front of the human waiter, one by one, like a drill bit. The tornado loaded it with its own small stones, which were a bit bumpy. Only when an electric vehicle passes through a deceleration belt, one relay race after another begins, and the electric scooter of the human assistant is lifted. Why is it so difficult to identify what appears to be a land trip but not a land trip? Does the second person feel like they have a fluctuating, low confidence, and a new type of heart? Is the heart working? Unknown stars light up the path ahead, while on both sides of the body there are cries of ghosts and wolves, howls of sorrow, and shelling and slaughtering of people. Living in dire straits, the slow-walking shopkeepers' slaves, selling children and people, slaughtering and burying them alive, the image of cruelty rises and fluctuates. Jingding heart is clearly a high-tech heart, isn't it? In fact, at night, individuals are reincarnated as humans. Life has its ups and downs, don't lose anything, be in a good mood for being rich and thin, is a song sung by young people and children. Lyrics about life. What's even more outrageous is that at this moment, there was a loud noise, but the noise was that the golden soldiers and iron horses were beating Qin's flag, Qin crossbows were firing in unison, and the king fell to the ground, howling everywhere. Crows and vultures were all present, and their cries were mournful. It is said that it is not a high-tech heart, but trembling all over because the heart rate is extremely high, acting on the brain nerves. The brain nerves act on the hands and feet, causing them to tremble and shake, resulting in the S-shaped riding of electric vehicles. With a small whirlwind, it is indeed a road recognition for relay driving. It is visible to the naked eye that to identify whether an electric vehicle is being lifted, it requires a 12-point effort. The second person is the second person, he didn't realize it. I just feel that Xiao Whirlwind is not a match, not even a match for the wheels of electric vehicles. When the wheels crush, they crumble and crumble. If it is really visible to the naked eye, I still think so. Disa's personal assistant is air. Still saying it's not a high-tech heart. Friends, brothers and sisters, we are at a loss in the starry sky. The starry sky is shrouded in dark clouds, making me see the stars. Clouds sometimes obscure stars in the atmosphere. However, before the snow fell heavily, the thunder of dawn rumbled and the freezing began. The snowflakes gradually cooled and could not be stopped. The same person they were talking about, the human servant, who was the man on earth. Little Whirlwind and his Langqing Qie talked about this. Non-human, non-material, non-elf, non-small stones, non-small whirlwinds, non-natural phenomena. What a terrifying snowy sky and snow scene, but at this moment, it feels chilly. Isn't the snow scene scary? Do you now believe that the presentation of a person's past on both sides of their history has lost its meaning? I don't believe in famous detectives either. Exploring the future is a good discourse for famous detectives. Are you hungry for breakfast, Little Whirlwind? 2. But it's not about eating or drinking. The turbulence is severe, only up and down. As he walked forward, he watched and listened in all directions, but his actual focus was on paying attention to the corpses and skeletons beside him on both sides. Occasionally glancing up does not affect the car, as the wheels move forward, and move forward again. Xiao Whirlwind, haven't you been hungry for a long time? Unexpectedly, the heart rate of the mind is also increasing. The heart rate drives the brain to expand, and when it cannot be moistened, it will make a sound from the vocal cords, so it will make a clicking sound and say, "Little whirlwind, isn't it hungry?" The small whirlwind experienced a wonderful transformation when it came into contact with the clouds around it. As it drifted down along the clouds and snowflakes, it seemed to have collided with the clouds, and the falling state of a marble was very wonderful, creating an artistic conception. And snowflakes have only been able to reach their heads yet. The bright little whirlwind that was spinning like the moon was blown away and flew away. Chapter 9. Thoughtful Little Cotton Coat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mud is well known as a rotten mud area, metaphorically referring to difficulties and troubles. The Chinese language is profound. The waiter doesn't know this word that well. Could you please be unfilial? Parents. A scolding has a lot of substance, because of one's own child. Otherwise, it's all over. Unable to evade national education, should receive education, sorry for the country. This made the little man the waiter not realize that his surroundings were mud, and that he was indeed in a difficult situation. However, the style of the small whirlwind is quite different after the wind and rain, so as to avoid being trapped on the mudflat, I can't bear it. Turbulence can wake you up, but drowsiness can make your thoughts drip. Talking about mud and mud areas, metaphorically referring to difficulties and troubles. The person looks like there is a long road ahead. If asked, where is the road at your feet? This year, the 45-degree small whirlwind joined the franchise relay, and now on the same road, our small whirlwind is about 0.5 meters wide. At first it was bumpy, but now it's no longer bumpy. Why? Because when I see it through imagination. From now on, this is a slope, the edge of the whirlwind mouth that has no place to care about. The edges of each small whirlwind connect with each other, forming a wind tunnel connecting the wind tunnel with the path of the small whirlwind. The wheels of the car pressed forward and were lifted up to move forward. There is no turbulence at all. Looking at the small whirlwind wind tunnel in front of the wheels at a distance of 0.5 meters, one after another, there is basically a negligible amount of turbulence, so there is no more turbulence. It moves forward calmly and peacefully through the wind tunnel opening of the small whirlwind tunnel. Friendship is like a wind tunnel. Electric bikes increase the wind force between adults, including around the entire electric bike. The wind from the ground increases, and the pants legs bear the brunt of this wind force. The wind rushes into the pants legs, causing them to bulge. This is comical, and I don't know what's going on. The funny bulges on the tops and clothes are on par with the pants legs. The cuffs of the clothes have entered, and the wind is very strong mainly because the small whirlwind that rotates around the head of the waiter has changed from a small whirlwind to the ultimate whirlwind, increasing the strength of the wind, especially for the clothes on the top that are bulging and warm, but it does not affect the person's breathing. It is expected that the vision is not blurred. The combination of the whirlwind on the ground and the whirlwind in the air, the small drill bit, can be so effective. With a thoughtful cotton jacket, it can be divided into a top and pants, each with different principles. Is there indeed a different type of small whirlwind? Mud, ignore it, is it the poor environment of the earth? Further appeal to people to protect the beauty of the earth, the beautiful environment, and not to destroy the environment. Perhaps during the earth's flood and famine, the earth's environment was extremely muddy, nurturing life, flora and fauna, flowers and plants, birds and beasts in such muddy terrain. China's environment has always been known for its beauty in no garbage, making it a beautiful and safe country. However, if the human caregiver destroys it like this, it will lose the dignity of the country. Let's identify the male image of the country he represents. On the despised electric car, there is a small figure with a myriad of thoughts, which has sparked a wave of thoughts. Now he seems to be in the collection of the Tsuji History Museum, surrounded by a group of people who are traveling, plundering, and looting. The wealth of other countries is all around. He could only pay attention to the scenes around the electric bike, one by one, as he struggled to recognize them. However, he still looked ahead and felt like he was afraid of death. Now, there were no more terrifying scenes, no more shelling, and so on. He was numb because there were too many. The weather temperature is decreasing, but the waiter really needs to recognize it. Is his numbness really a person with a low new heart? He should be a person with a high-tech heart. There is more and more light snow, from small snowflakes to big snowflakes spreading all over the sky and people. The little boy, Xiao is still a bit, too, because he is so unreasonable. The weather is so unreasonable that he moves forward, but instead does not retreat. This is fundamentally contrary to common sense, so he is a fool. People think that if a waiter lets themselves know, they will be finished, and they may not be aware of this. How can a small heart determine all of this? Can't snowflakes be blown into the legs and cuffs of pants by different types of wind? Does it cause the whole person to freeze? This is completely reasonable. The above description mentioned that the cuffs are warm and comfortable when the wind blows. The mystery of the small whirlwind dispersed the surrounding snowflakes, including those around the pants' legs. The small whirlwind in front of the eyes began as the second person's thoughts began. Dancing still did not affect the second person, but the actual difficulties of the time were carved out, leaving only a faint emptiness that was not affected. The mouth was short and the hands were short. The 5 flavors are intertwined with fear. Due to complex thinking, fear has been diluted. Chapter 10. Like a Snowy Country. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.